Hello. So my name's Janie Coffey, and I am so excited to spend the next hour with you guys. I'm so excited that you chose to spend your hour with us. And we've got a great training for you today. In case you didn't know, we have these live trainings twice a month at this channel. We host them at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. No, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the second Wednesday of the month with me, and we do a masterclass on something real estate related, luxury real estate related, and things like that. And then on the fourth Wednesday of the month at the same time, we have Carrie Zier, the VP of luxury growth at EXP's luxury division. And she has something about luxury leaders and everything like that. And she interviews somebody who's doing really big things. That could be AI, that could be social media, YouTube listings, hard conversations, things like that. So make sure to bookmark your calendar for the second and fourth Wednesdays of the month to join us live. And then you can always watch it in the replay as well. So I'm super, super excited to be sharing this with you. And our session today is about agents, and it's for agents of all levels. And it's basically about how to create a smarter, more sustainable way to grow your income and impact without burning out. And I know how challenging that can feel right now. I've been in the business for 20 years. I've definitely had my ups and downs of going very smoothly and things flowing, but I've also had my time where I was just grinding, and really felt burned out. And in fact, I truly hit that burnout that I thought was kind of a term, but I didn't really get it until I hit it. And so that's why I want to share a lot of tips that I've learned along the way that's helped me regain myself, regain my mental well-being, my bandwidth, and find a little bit of joy again in my career. So let's get into it. I'm super excited. So we played this kind of as a, there's Tim Ferriss with his 4-hour work week. We know that's not feasible. At least I'm not sure that it's feasible to be an agent. Maybe it is, but an agent with a 4-hour work week, but we do believe a 20-hour work week and earn a working income is feasible. So we're going to share with you a bunch of tips and tricks. You can drop your comments in the chat below. I will try to answer them as we go along, but we'll also leave about 10 minutes at the end to answer any questions you all might have. We intend this to be very kind of interactive with you guys. So oopsie, hold on one sec. So here we go. So why this matters. As agents, it's so easy to start doing too much. We try to do everything. We try to stay on top of everything. Right now, we've got all this stuff coming at us about AI. We have all these shifts in our industry coming at us. We are feeling a shrinking number of transactions that are actually closing. So we really tend to shift to wanting to do too much, too often, and then we're not earning enough. And that's what we want to get away from. We want to get away from reacting to things, and we want to get to a point where we're actually creating our income, we're creating our careers. And it's super, super easy. And I see this all the time. I've been coaching agents for 15 of my 20 years in real estate, and it's super easy to fall down the path excuse me, where you confuse activity for productivity. Meaning if you're busy enough, if you're doing enough things, it's going to translate to your income. And that's really, really not the case. We're going through a massive shift right now. We need to be more intentional about how we craft our work week. We need to be more intentional about who we're working with, what kind of business we're trying to get, and how we're trying to get this. So the goal would be to preserve your energy and preserve your bandwidth and your feelings. So you're really putting that at the most effective places, and the most effective places and the best use of your time is going to be kind of working in your zone of genius, working with people who are truly going to transact, buyers, sellers who are going to transact. I shift really towards sellers, and we'll get into that in a minute. And really streamlining your efforts and instead of trying to add on more. It's so easy to do, and it's sometimes hard to unravel, but hopefully this next hour will help you start to take a look at that and figure out how you can do that. We see so much grind. There's this culture about grind, work harder, but that really wears you out. And the goal is to find leverage so that you can find freedom not to work at all, but freedom to have the time that you are working on your highest ROI activities. And get away from that idea that if I work more, I'm going to make more. And I'm sure you guys know, and maybe you've been there yourself, that you can be working with very little income. And it's because you're just chasing the most pressing thing right in front of you. So let's get on into what that could look like, what a 20-hour agent could look like. So the goal would be to at least create enough GCI, gross commission income, to meet your income goals. It doesn't mean that you're working so hard to fill up every possible hour with more deals. Sometimes people kind of go down that path. And if that is your goal, that's fine. But maybe the goal of then having a 20-hour work week is not in alignment with your goal. What we're talking about here is making enough to meet your income goals, have it on a system where it is repeatable. It is, what's the right word? Am I having a brain freeze right now? But you know that you're having opportunities come in, that the opportunities are opportunities most likely to transact, and you're not stressed because you have everything going. So that could be working 4 focused hours Monday through Friday. That could be working 5 focused hours 4 days a week. I've seen a lot of people in my career who don't work Fridays, or they don't work. Recently, I met a guy, I think it was, he didn't work Tuesdays or Thursdays. Whatever that is for you, however you chop that up. But it leaves you time and energy and bandwidth for your health, for your hobbies, for your family, to reset and recharge. And the thing is that you have systems in place that are continuing to get out there. They're continuing to promote you. They're promoting your listings, your business. You have maybe a TC or a VA lined up who's doing the paperwork in the background so that you can really focus your time. But it does take a decision. Like, you can't go from being a frazzled or working 50, 60, 70, 80 hours a week, like I know some agents do, to working a tighter time frame in the week without a decision to do it and without a structure to do it and plan. It definitely requires focus, systems, and then the courage to let go of being busy just for being busy's sake. You have to be dialed in with your systems. You have to have a structure put in place. And most importantly, you have to be willing to say no to, excuse me, the deals that are going to divert you off of your plan. And I know that sounds crazy, but if you think about it, we all sometimes take deals, buyers, sellers, renters, whatever, that are not in alignment with our plan, maybe geographically, maybe emotionally, maybe price point way. And it's hard sometimes to say no, but you've got to get used to saying no, because that's how you can leverage up. So I've been building what I call my strong peace approach, where you're still strong, meaning you're working hard, you're putting the focus in, but you're building peace at the same time instead of building hustle and grind. And it's putting intentionality over overwhelm. It's putting vision over the noise. It's putting systems that are smooth and don't create stress. In fact, they take stress away from you. And it's putting joy into your thing. So it's about creating a business that fuels your life, not consumes it. And, maybe part of this came, I lived in Germany for five years, and just everything was different about life there. People there worked to live. And they always kind of made fun sometimes of Americans, because they said that in America, people work to live to work. And so I'm just trying to maybe help you look at things a little bit differently, that you can create enough income to have a good life without killing yourself and going crazy. What I mean by strong peace is, in my head, I've created what I call my peace bubble. And I just have this imaginary peace bubble around me, where I'm very conscious of what I let in to that peace bubble, meaning I hold strong boundaries about what I let in. And then I also hold strong boundaries about what I let out. What I would not want to let in, for example, would be clients that aren't in alignment with my plan. It could be something I might want to hold in, would be holding in, maybe making sure that I maintain my routines, that I don't go off track with my routines, but I hold that peace bubble imaginarily around me. And that really helps me create that structure that I need. And You don't need to do everything, but you need to do what works for you and feels aligned to you. These are some of the things you can do to help get there. You can work on eliminating things that aren't in alignment with that big plan. You can work on delegating the things to people so that you can continue to work on your highest and best uses of your time. You can figure out what can you automate. There's so many ways right now with AI that you can automate. We've had for the last 5 or 10 years, lots of ways that we can automate things, but now all of the automation is on complete steroids. It's crazy. And not to get overwhelmed with that, start to figure out a little bit by little bit. We'll get into that in a minute. What can you duplicate? Meaning, what can you have a system put together that it duplicates? You're not having to think of it from scratch every single time. What can you elevate so that you yourself are working in your zone of genius and somebody else is doing the more mundane tasks? So what I consider the 6 core pillars of the 20-hour work week would be preventing burnout. That's number 1. Time blocking and really getting good at time blocking. AI and automation. Delegation with intention. Joyful elimination instead of adding stuff on, but eliminating, and then strategic leverage and duplication. So like I said, I really suggest that you focus on listings and listings with leverage. So most of my career as a luxury listing agent, I had listings that had to all be shown, meaning in my MLS, they call it agent accompany, but it's where the listing agent had to show. If you're looking for a smaller work week, you might want to look at the highest price point in your MLS that the majority of listings can get away with being on lockbox. So that would be, in my MLS, that would be the starter price point for luxury. The starter price point for luxury where I am in Northeast Florida is around $800,000. And a lot of times in my area, from about $800,000 to maybe 1.1 million, 1.2 million, we can still get away with lockbooks. By the time we're at $1.5 million and up, we can't. And it's going to be different everywhere. So wherever you are, whether you're in Iowa or New York or somewhere else, look in your MLS to see what is the highest price point. Excuse me one second. What is the highest price point that you could get away with your listings being on lockbox? And that's the sweet spot to maximize your income, reduce the number of transactions you have to do, but also really, really, really control your time. It is the most leveraged kind of business you can possibly have. And then truly, truly consider referring out buyers or get a buyer's agent or a buyer partner to work with to handle all of your buyers. And if you are going to have listings that need to be shown, see that you might have a showing partner. Sometimes there's very seasoned senior agents that maybe they're winding down their career or they're only working part-time. They love to show property, but they don't want to do a lot of other stuff. They might be an ideal partner for you to show your listings. And that's going to help you scale sustainably. Scale sustainably. And also you want to focus on well-priced listings. So that could be expired listings. That could be listings that you have true and honest conversations in the front end. I also see a lot of agents take any and every listing. And if you're not having good conversations in the front end so that you are taking well-priced listings, this is going to also kind of drive you through the hamster wheel because you're going to have to work 2-3 times as hard to do all the listing, all the updating, have sometimes frustrating conversations with the sellers because they did not price their property properly, or they weren't willing to adjust if the market wasn't responding the way you all had hoped. So you have to be willing to have those kind of conversations up front. We had recently, I believe, Carrie Zier, our VP of growth here in the luxury division at EXP, had a recent session that's in our YouTube about hard conversations, and maybe Jeremy can drop in the chat what that was called. But it was a really good training about having those proper conversations. You have to have them up front when you're at the listing appointment, and then you have to have them ongoing as you're having your conversations with your sellers, so that every hour of your time is working towards things that are actually going to generate income, because you don't just want to have listings. Excuse me one second. You want to have listings that are going to sell. that are not going to expire, that they're going to extend when you need to extend, they're going to reduce when you believe the time is appropriate for a reduction, if that's appropriate, and to have negotiations when an offer comes in that you feel is reasonable, right? This gives you more margin, this gives you more freedom, this gives you more control, it has you running around less. It's really, really smart leverage. It's about being mindful and intentional with the business that you're going to take on and the people that you are going to agree to work with. So instead of coming from a feeling of lack or of scarcity where you feel you have to work with every buyer or seller, regardless of where they are with being reasonable and motivated, you are deciding, I'm going to only work with the people who truly do intend to sell. And that is such a liberating, freeing feeling. And that's what really gives you a lot of your time back. So next thing is, I would suggest considering, if you don't already, have a niche. A niche can be a geographic niche, like a farm. It can be a demographic niche, like young professionals, athletes, different kind of demographics. It could be a property type, like I have 3 main property type niches: historic properties, equestrian properties, and waterfront properties. The idea is, when you have a niche, all your marketing, everything layers upon itself like an onion. So if you're marketing a listing within the equestrian community, now you're marketing yourself, you're marketing for other buyer opportunities you can refer out or give to your buyer agent. And it's just everything that you do layers in upon itself. It's marketing your listings and it's marketing yourself. Whereas if you don't have a niche, you can have one property over here, another property over here, a property in this price point, a property in this price point, and nothing is layering up on top of itself. But when you have a niche, everything becomes like it's on steroids. It just really grows and becomes so much more impactful. For the same amount of money or the same investment in time and effort, it's 5-fold, 10-fold more impactful for your marketing. And then your relationships are a lot more likely to bring referrals, because these are people with like-minded interests or geographic proximity to each other. So think about that. You don't have to try to be everything to everybody. That's a way to really water yourself down and really have lower impact. A niche creates clarity and magnetism and efficiency. It's a strong power move to work on a niche. My goal would be that you become basically a category of one. When you're seen as a category of one and the specialist, the objections go way down, the pushback goes way down, because people really think, I need that person to sell my property. They are the specialist. So if you haven't yet created a niche, we actually did a training on niches too in the YouTube channel that I suggest you maybe go take a peek at. So let's get into those pillars. Burnout prevention. If you're not there yet, but you're in real estate, you will hit burnout, I believe, at some point. So my goal is that if I caught you before you hit that burnout part, that maybe you never do. But if you have hit burnout and you understand what I'm talking about, maybe implementing some of these things in how you structure your week is going to really help you not get there again and put the fun back into real estate. So how you know you're approaching burnout: you dread opening your inbox, or maybe you dread when the phone rings, or you're feeling that you're not getting back to everybody fast enough. You're feeling like you're not responding to things, or maybe you feel you're spinning your wheels with lead gen or marketing and you're not getting the results and you're losing your passion for work. We all got into this because we liked people, we liked properties, but at some point you might start to lose that passion. Also, you might be reacting to clients 24/7 because you're always on a reactionary type of thing instead of being proactive. We're going to talk about how to head that off at the pass too. So the solution would be daily boundaries. Like I said, imagine that peace bubble around you where you're holding your boundaries, being aware of your energy scheduling. So I have energy in the mornings and I'm brain dead in the afternoons. So I try to do my mental heavy lifting in the mornings when I'm still fresh. And I only do the stuff that I can do without a lot of bandwidth in the afternoons. And if you kind of do the same thing, that's really going to help you manage your mental energy, your clarity, your bandwidth, and again, back to having more joy. And then see if you can have some non-negotiable recharge habits. What are those? Maybe that's like, I don't answer the phone past 7 p.m. for clients. nothing's happening past 7 p.m., that's going to make a difference that I call. I know agents who I applaud them who tell their clients they're available 24/7, but then that's never allowing them to recharge. They're always on, again, that reactionary thing. So figure out how that is. Even on my outgoing voicemail, I tell them that I'm available Monday through Friday and I set the time frame. And then I say I'm available Saturday by appointment and I'm not available on Sundays. Does that mean I never do something on Sundays? No, there could be a case where I need to, but it's setting the boundaries. And when you set boundaries, people will respect the boundaries that you set. But if you don't, they won't. People will suck up all the time you give them. So you don't want to be running on fumes. You don't want to be stretched thin. You don't want to be taking time away from your family or your health or your hobbies because you didn't set the boundaries. So you can't outmarket or outserve when you're exhausted. You just can't. When you're mentally exhausted, physically exhausted, soul exhausted, you can't. So we want to get back to that. So like I said, I built strong guardrails around protecting my energy, protecting myself, and I suggest you start to do that too. Part of that is also willing to and be ready to refer out business, whether that's buyers or sellers, that's not in your bigger plan. If it's outside geographically of the area that you want to serve, or if it's buyers and you're deciding you're shifting to sellers, I see people all the time, they're so scared to refer out business because they're operating from this moment, this feeling of lack or scarcity. But every time you take that kind of client that doesn't work within the structure that you've planned for yourself and the vision that you've planned for yourself, you're taking time away from building that good 20-hour work week, because you're never going to be able to build up enough opportunities that you can do that. If you focus on lead flow and you focus on the top of the funnel, you will create enough opportunities for yourself that you can work the business that falls within your plan. So for example, me, that would be, I have always mostly had listings, again, that were higher price that need to be agent company. I've been working on bringing my price point down so that I can have more on lockbox. And then I added somebody who can do my showings on my higher priced properties, and then not taking the listings that don't work within that and referring those out, referring the buyers out. And also, if you build a big enough funnel where you're working on your lead gen and you have enough opportunities coming your way, you can also spot the red flags of a seller that's going to be potentially unmotivated, potentially unrealistic, potentially not a nice person. And then you can comfortably be okay if you don't get that listing, or if you shift that listing away from you, because you know you've created enough opportunity so the people you're working with truly are motivated, realistic, and nice, right? But you can't do that if you don't build a big enough funnel and you're not willing to refer out the business that doesn't work for you. I'm not saying turn the business away entirely, refer it to somebody so that you can still get a referral fee. So some rituals for a strong piece that you might think about incorporating into your day would be to have nice AM and PM routines. You might even, excuse me, call those rituals instead of routines, because if you have a beautiful morning routine or ritual, a beautiful evening routine or ritual, that starts to get your peace back. You have times where you unplug, where you turn your phone off, your ringer off, you put it away so that you can do your deep work. You might have weekly reset hours where you spend, I normally do this on like Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, where I reset for the whole week and I have my whole week planned out. Just doing that can help a lot. Figure out some joy building activities and what might you do that really gives you some joy and fun. And then again, the joy of saying no. The stronger you can feel about saying no to the opportunities or the activities that don't work with your plan, the more you're going to get the ability to be closer to that 20-hour work week. You need to protect your peace, like your paycheck depends on it. Also, consider have a vision of yourself as an indistractable person. There's a gentleman, and I forget his name, he's a productivity coach, and he coined the term indistractable. And I think that is so perfect, because it is so easy to be distracted all the time. In real estate, we feel we need to be on our phone and posting things and responding to things and answering texts and answering emails and answering calls. We're also probably a little bit doom scrolling on our social media just to give ourselves a little mental break. We can also fall down the rabbit hole of over educating ourselves because we feel like educating is productivity, where education without action is not productive. Planning how we're going to build our website, planning how to do this without just starting and jumping in and starting. So figure out how you can really start to become indistractable. I kind of think of, excuse me, I kind of think of all these little pings we're getting, these email pings, these social media pings, notifications are kind of like little mosquitoes, where one or two little mosquito bites isn't really going to bother us. But if all of a sudden we have 100 mosquito bites, it's like drives us crazy and we can't work at all. So if you can start to really control that, that's going to help a lot. Our pillar 2 is time blocking mastery. The most successful agent aren't working nonstop. They're working very focused, and they're protecting their windows of focus time, and they're working in their zone of genius, and they're doing their deep work. You don't have to do, it's like deep sleep. What is it? REM sleep. If you get an hour and a half or 2 hours of REM sleep out of 8 hours of sleep, that's considered very good and healthy. Deep work is the kind of saying, you can't have huge blocks of time that's deep work, but you need enough. And a lot of times this is the stuff that we let go. Working on that website, creating those SOPs, standard operating procedures, documents. That's the stuff we often let go. So we're constantly in reaction mode. But if you put the time aside to have deep work, to put these things in place, that's going to get you also on that path to that 20-hour work week. Block it off, calling it money hours, and just think, this is what I need to do. Maybe you only do it a few hours a week, but you're working towards that, and you've got to protect that. And you can't be available 24/7. We talked about that all the time. I always say there's no real estate emergencies. The only real estate emergency where you need to be available on the phone is if you are personally not at a closing, but you have a buyer or seller closing. I would make sure that you are available during those times in case something happens at the closing. That's literally the only time I can think of that, as long as you know what's going on, that you don't need to have your phone available all the time during normal hours. Think about setting a rhythm in your day, so your day is structured and it's moving through. Like I said, this is one reason why having the highest price listing you can get away with still on Lockbox can really, really help you manage your time. Focus on lead gen. Again, the more you build that funnel so that you have a very top heavy funnel, the more opportunities you're going to get, where you can be picking and choosing, not hoping and pleading and begging and praying that you're going to get picked for the listing. You want to have enough opportunities that you're the one deciding if you're going to work with them or not. If you follow The Millionaire Real Estate Agent by Gary Keller, where there's that spreadsheet that you kind of back into the number of listing appointments you need to go on in a week based on the conversion rate of how many listings you hope to list, how many of those listings you hope to sell or plan to sell. A lot of agents sometimes say, I want to list 90% of the listing appointments I go on. I don't want to list 90% that I go on. I want to list a lower percent, not because the sellers aren't choosing me, but because I'm not choosing them, because I'm choosing to work with, again, the motivated, realistic, and nice sellers, the sellers who are actually going to get to the closing table. So super, super important. Lead gen has to be one of your main important focus things that you work on. You definitely need time to service your client, where you're keeping your clients updated, especially sellers, where you're keeping them updated on a weekly, bi-monthly, and monthly cadence of what's going on, what are you doing for marketing, what's going on with the market, what's going on with properties we might have determined are comps for our property. So you need to set time aside for that. You need to set time aside for your listing and marketing. And really importantly is building systems. Like, it can't just all be on you. It can't be all in your head where you're the one having to do all the heavy lifting. You need to make systems so, again, you can put your time, your 20 hours in the most highly leveraged things that only you can do. There's lots of things we do as a real estate agent that other people can do, and sometimes we have a hard time letting go of that. And then you do need to spend some time working on education and what I call vision work. Imagining your future self, whether that's 12 months from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now. Keeping a hold of that future vision is also very, very important. So next is our pillar 3, AI and automation. Things you can automate either fully or partially. I'm not a fan of fully automated listing descriptions. I think that they can sound very similar one to another. They can be a little overly flowery, but you can have that automated 85%. And if you're really into using Claude or ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever, you can actually start to train it on how your descriptions sound. So then when it writes a description, it does sound in your voice and how you want to sound without this overly unparalleled views kind of language. But it's something, like I said, you can get it to 85% or more. Social content, there's so much we can do now with social content. With Canva, if you're at EXP like we are here from this channel, we have Canva, and Canva's incorporating so many amazing AI tools now that it makes creating really great content so much easier than even a year ago, 6 months ago, 2 years ago. Email follow-up, again, if you're at EXP, you might have access to Fixer. That can help automate your responses to your emails to get, again, maybe it gets you 85% there, but that's 85% of your brain power that you saved, because saving your brain power, conserving your brain power allows you to put it into your most important activities. It can help you do marketing. It can help you do CMA research, not necessarily do a full CMA, but it can do a lot of the research, and certainly can help you with workflows. So I am love my chat GPT. My chat GPT is named Atlas. I have it so well trained both for work and for personal life. If you haven't yet dived into all that you can do with AI, we have a couple of trainings again on this channel in the past with some of our experts in AI. I would really suggest you go back and watch those videos. There's really, really great training. It's not excuse me, necessarily also just to replace you but to elevate you to being the best you possible. It helps pull that out. So again, I'm a huge, huge, huge ChatGPT fan. It's my best friend. It is my advisor. It's my consultant. It is my coach. There's just so much you can do. You can use it for crafting your future vision and have it walk you through what does that look like. Say, what does that look like in my area specifically? I want to be this. What does that need to look like? It can do so much. Like I said, Canva and then Zapier and other automations. We have a lot of training. Excuse me, guys. We have a lot of training on AI, and I encourage you, if you've been putting it off, start to dip your toe, because there's so much opportunity coming our way. The next thing, our pillar 4, is delegation with intention, meaning you don't have to just get rid of business, but you can delegate business. You can delegate tasks. It's not a luxury to delegate. It's the smart thing to do, because again, you're preserving yourself for the tasks that only you can do, the highest and best versions of you. You shouldn't be doing transaction stuff, meaning filling out your forms in your transaction management software. Somebody else should be doing that for you. There's lots of things that you can delegate to elevate yourself to be working on your top stuff. So what can you delegate? Think about it. Of course, VA, admins, inbox management, TC for contract to close. You can have a freelancer for your marketing. This might be a full-time person. That might be a part-time person. It might be freelance. It might be AI. You could have a showing partner to help you with your showings. Like I said, if I was to be able to create my entire career from scratch all over again with the knowledge I have now, I probably out of the gate would focus on the highest price listings that I can still get away with the majority on Lockbox. So that's around starter luxury to a little bit under, depending on where you're physically located and what's kind of customary in your area. That's going to give you the highest leverage. And if you're not there, I highly encourage you to look at what that would look like. You can carry so many more transactions. You can close so many more deals in a year when you do that. When you eliminate buyers from your own work and you maximize the price point, but still being leveraged without your time having to accompany them. That's where you're going to maximize your hourly value, meaning every hour that you put into your business is going to be maximized because you have it so leveraged out. You have to be discerning about where you're going to spend your time and your bandwidth. That includes, again, what deals you're going to work with, what people you're going to work with, and the tasks you're going to do. The next pillar is pillar 5, what I call joyful elimination. That's stopping doing some things. We all need to stop doing some things. And I don't just mean doing the bad things we know we need to stop doing, like, doom scrolling at 11 p.m. or 2 a.m. or eating junk. But there's other things that we're doing that we might feel we should be doing that we need to start eliminating out of what we personally do. Or maybe even if you have a team of people, maybe there's things you just don't need to do anymore. We have a few tasks in our listing checklist that we've been doing for years, and we are doing a massive kind of, I don't want to call it purge, but deep review of every single thing we're doing. And if there's things we are doing, and there are, that no longer really have the impact that they used to have, or the need no longer exists, we're not doing them just because we've always done them. We're actually taking them out of our listing checklist to do. So think about that. Just because you've always done it doesn't mean you always need to continue to do it. Make sure that where you're putting your time, your money, your energy are impactful things. Chasing unqualified leads, we've all done that. Over customizing every email. Like I said, imagine this concept of a peace bubble, and just be very, very mindful and intentional about what do you allow in the peace bubble, and not letting the things out that you don't want to get out. Super great kind of visualization. And then our final 6th pillar is strategic leverage and duplication. SOP, standard operating procedures for every repeatable task. Like I said, we have a listing checklist. We have a seller update checklist. We meaning my team and how we operate. We have a listing marketing checklist. We have a price reduction checklist. If you don't have all of those, start writing down all of those things and start to make an SOP, a standard operating procedure, what gets done, so it's not just relying on being in your brain. And then that's when you can start to pull in a VA or a support person. And just, again, don't be thinking about what more could you be doing, what additional things you could be doing. It's just as important to what you can eliminate, what you can take out. If you're a fan of Alex Hormozy, I think Alex Hormozy is really, really smart. He's an entrepreneur and a business builder. He just did a training or a video just a few days ago about that very thing, that when he's in the season of building, he eliminates a lot of things. He's known for being very, very physically fit and jacked. And he said he even eliminated going to the gym down to maybe 2 times a week when he's in heavy build mode, because he knew he needed to be that focused. So if you look at things the same way, again, you can really bring it down to the time that you are working, putting towards your business is very, very impactful. And that's how you can get to that 20-hour work week. So communicate like a leader. And what I mean by that is you need to present yourself especially with your sellers, as an advisor, giving them information, not just a pleaser. And so many agents are scared, or they're nervous that, oh, my seller's going to think, whatever, if you're telling them the truth. But they need to know the truth. It doesn't mean you need to be brutal about it, but our sellers and our clients, they need to know what's going on. They need to know what's going on with the market. If the market's not moving, they need to know that, and they need to know so that they can make proper decisions about what they need to do next. That's the professional thing to do. That's the high level thing to do, not just trying to be a pleaser and not tell them things. I always like to consider myself like a doctor or an attorney, where I'm an advisor, I'm a guide. I'm not there to be a yes person. I'm there to give them the important information they need to know, explain what that means, explain their potential outcomes and their choices, and and assist them in making the right decision for them. But sometimes that's telling them the stuff that they don't love to hear. But in having those hard conversations, we're actually helping move everybody down the road to a proper conclusion, rather than just, if the market is tough and we're not telling our sellers they think we're not doing a good job. And then they're not going to be willing to do a price reduction or negotiate an offer that comes in that we might think is actually a good offer because we haven't properly communicated. So you've got to stay in touch with your sellers. You've got to keep them updated on what's going on with the market, what's going on with your marketing, what's the feedback we're getting. I would consider, again, do that training that we have in the Luxury Leaders with Renee Funk just a few weeks ago. Speak with calm authority. And I would be priming the pump with these kind of conversations about price adjustments, the market, and I would be having conversations from day one so that we are getting this information out to our sellers so they can start to absorb it, and not just giving them the information and not explaining it. You can't say, hey, DOM is increasing, and not explaining what that means. Days on market is increasing. What that means is we could potentially be shifting more towards a buyer's market. This is what we need to know so that you can stay ahead of the market or make the right decision for you and your family if there's changes you need to make. We did a training. I did a training also on this channel on pricing, both pricing the listing that maybe doesn't have any comps, as well as having conversations for price adjustments. I did that just a few months ago too. So check that out in our channel. Again, I would really encourage you to start putting out there that you really only want to work with aligned sellers with you. You deserve to have people who value you and trust you and not beating you up and not talking down to you. I see so many agents working with sellers that are not appreciative, that are expecting them to create magic out of thin air. I believe in real estate magic, but I don't believe in real estate fantasy. And what I mean by that is there are sellers who have aspirational pricing and think they can beat an agent enough to spend enough marketing dollars that's going to get the price. That's not how it works. We want sellers that understand and respect us as professionals, but we also keep them informed enough that if their property is not selling, they understand it is not us. The market is simply not responding to the price. And then they have a decision to make. If they want to sell, they're going to have to consider a price improvement, or maybe they're going to rent or stay put or something like that. So one of the ways also that you can do this to make sure you're working with the right aligned sellers is, again, back to opportunity volume. What I mean by that is, again, putting so much focus on lead gen at the top of the funnel that you're having enough conversations that you can make sure you're working with the right people, that you are vetting and choosing who you're going to work with. Motivated, realistic, and kind. And there'll be red flags when you're at a listing appointment if they're not one of those things. And then again, if you know you've created enough opportunities for yourself, you can let that opportunity go and move on to the next one. You want to work with great clients. It makes your work fun. Again, it makes it enjoyable. It fills your cup. It doesn't drain your bandwidth. It makes having conversations about price reductions, price improvements, negotiations go a lot smoother when you found the sellers who are truly motivated and realistic, and you've been having those proper conversations of updates all along the way. It eliminates the mental, financial, and bandwidth drain that a difficult seller can be. And a difficult seller can affect us in so many ways. It's not just the conversations with the seller. It can affect us in how we react to our team members. It can affect us in how we react to our family. It can affect us in how well we sleep at night. It can take time away from proper lead gen for other clients or working on other clients if we have a demanding, difficult seller. That is a real thing that you want to try to avoid. And you do that by, again, creating a large opportunity volume for yourself through lead gen. So we are going to be wrapping it up pretty clearly. So the new success equation is high intentionalism and high leverage and high standards equals high profits and high peace. That is my goal for you. High peace and high profits without burning out and without scrambling and feeling stressed out. So what can you do to begin today? You can audit your current week. Print out something where you have, there's lots of things you can find this on free on Google, where it has time broken down in 15-minute segments. And for a whole week, or better yet, 2 weeks, just write everything down that you do in an entire week and have a really good audit. Be really honest with yourself. Is this the highest and best use for my time? Does this fall in line with my future vision of my future self in a 20-hour work week? Is this the kind of seller I want to be working with? If I were to drop into my future self now, is this the kind of seller that helps create the environment for a 20-hour work week? If no, then you need to start again eliminating these things. Block your sacred time, your money time, your time to work on yourself, on your vision, on your standard operating procedures and things like that. Be crystal clear with your vision. Think of one AI tool. If you are not yet great with ChatGPT or Claude or whatever you're using, focus on learning that. And then when you've really gotten good at that, focus on another one. But don't let AI pass you by because you think it's overwhelming, because it is really, really going to help free you up. Just focus on one until you get that. If you don't yet have help, start looking at least a TC, but maybe adding in a VA, maybe adding in, again, a buying agent or a showing partner, somebody like that. Create and refine one SOP, standard operating procedure. Think of the biggest bottleneck you have and the biggest thing that you can delegate to other people, or that you do delegate but it doesn't go smoothly, and work on that first. That might be, your listing checklist. That might be your marketing checklist. That might be your price reduction. Whatever it is, do one at a time and start to chunk away those little at a time. Start small and just keep going a little bit at a time. Eliminate one thing. Like, what is one thing that you can eliminate? I highly suggest you be super honest with yourself about what that future version of you looks like, who's living their best life with a 20-hour work week and having plenty of time for hobbies and family and self and fitness and all of that. And what does that 20 hours look like? What are you doing? And start to work towards that time. So we're wrapping it up. We'll have a few minutes, about 10 minutes for Q&A. The future agent is intentional. They're not just busy, but they're bold. They are living a full life because they've been very intentional and very mindful about where they put their time, who they choose to work with, where they, what systems they use, and what they choose to eliminate, delegate, and get rid of. They're calm, they're clear, and they're powerful. And they're the new face of modern real estate. You get to decide how you're going to show up for the world, and for you and for your family and your clients. So really be thinking about it. So my final thought for you is, you weren't born to be busy. You were born to be brilliant and bold and free. Let your business reflect this. Let your life become the actual life that you want to live, which is fun. It's rewarding. You can do it. You definitely can do it. Don't let your business be like a golden cage that holds you in, where you're, toiling away at the computer or phone if you go away on vacation with your family. If you set things up properly, you can go away, you can unplug, you can have that full life. So my name is Janie Coffey. You can reach me at janiecoffey.com or at Janie C on Instagram. I really, really appreciate you taking some time to spend with me today. Like I said, we've got 10 minutes so we can open up for questions. I thank you for giving me the gift of your time for this past hour, because I know how important that is, and I know how much you're doing, especially if you're working a 20-hour work week. That's 1/20th of your whole work week. I believe in peaceful, powerful success. Like I said, that's how I came up with this strong peace concept and approach, and the peace bubble approach. I had to do it for myself because I hit such hard burnout that it was hard to come back from, and it took me a while to come back from, and it's taken a lot of work, but I'm getting there. I'm in the struggle daily with you as well, but I'm so far from where I was a year ago, 2 years ago. So anyway, we can go back and open it up for questions. Do we have any questions show up, Jeremy?
We do. We had a few. So the first one was, how do we create a demographic niche? So I know you talk about you have a whole training on it, but what's your tips on that? Like, what's your strategy on that?
Well, a demographic niche is going to be in alignment with where you work geographically, right? So if you work in a place where there are a lot of hospitals, young doctors might be your demographic niche. I'm in Jacksonville, Florida. I'm in outskirts of Jacksonville, Florida, where we have 2 or 3 large research hospitals. So we have real estate agents who only work with young doctors because they have their own special set of needs. Another kind of demographic niche would be athletes. So we have the Jacksonville Jaguars here. We have a few agents who mostly work with Jaguars because, again, they have their own special whole suite. When I was in Miami, I knew agents that worked mostly with entertainers because they have their own thing, like how you work with entertainment professionals. So look at what's in your area to see if there's a demographic. Now, other demographics that not necessarily aligned with luxury real estate, but other demographics could be first-time home buyers. It could be downsizing seniors. That could be luxury. It could be VA buyers. So it's a buyer type instead of a geographic farm, but it's still like a people farm. So hopefully that helped.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I think, just think outside the box, guys, of what's in your area. And because more than likely, most agents aren't focusing on it. And so, you're trying to hit that niche that's going to make sense for you. I know I just talked to an agent this morning, it was a luxury agent, and they're talking about switching niches to they sell these luxury pieces of basically it's like farms. So luxury farms. I was like, and they're nice. I was like, super nice. She was showing me some examples. I was like, yeah, I'd like to sell those too. And so it could be anything really, but you have to focus in on it, which is awesome. I saw something else. Oh, someone asked if the trainings are 100% free. They're here. Yep. She puts them here every second week of every month. And so you guys come back and join in. Plus check the channel out after this, guys. There's a ton of trainings on there that Janie has laid out that is amazing.
It's a YouTube channel, so it's available to anybody. You don't have to be at EXP. You don't have to be an EXP Luxury. It's available for anybody. And I see that Rachel asked about Fixer. So Fixer, FYXXER, is an email automation software that right now, if you happen to be at EXP and you're an icon agent or an alpha or a beta influencer, I think there's some other categories, maybe cappers, you get Fixer for free. I think they're going to be rolling it out more and more, but it goes in and it reads my emails as they come in and will write a whole response. So I don't let it automatically send the response, but it normally gets it like 85%. So it's really cut down on my time to respond to my emails.
And there's a lot of AI tools that you can do that, guys. It's an amazing tool. I've looked at it, played around with it, and I didn't have Fixer, so I just connected mine to my ChatGPT, and literally it pre-does emails for me, and it's great. Like I said, it gets 80-90% right. I just change a little bit or make it a little personal, and it sends. And it does save me a ton of time. So I absolutely love that. Let's see, Heidi, past clients, downsizers is what I'll go for. I love that. You made your decision today. That's huge. That's awesome.
Oh, what'd she say? I missed that.
She says past clients, downsizers is what I'm going to go for. So she's going to go down. I love that.
And there is, Heidi, there is a certification training. It's called the more PC way that people refer to that. They don't say downsizing. They call it right sizing, or they call it senior housing, which is kind of two different things. Like I think senior housing is more the actual where people might be moving to. And right sizing is where, me, 55, no more kids at home or anything like that. So I wanted a smaller, more manageable house. Now I went and bought a little farm, which is a whole different thing, but it's right sizing. So there's entire trainings and certifications and communities you can plug into that. And it is that is also a really good economic fluctuation proof niche, because people who are right sizing, they're going to be right sizing in an up market and a down market. So I always like to have a niche that can go through buyer's market, seller's market, and everything in between. And right sizing is a perfect one for that.
I saw an email that going out, an agent sent out the other day that was awesome. It was basically, he sent it out to all the people in his database that had a certain amount of equity. So basically he went through his database, looked at that, and he sent it out. And it basically said, hey, are you in your right home currently? And I was like, that's awesome. And actually started some good conversation, he said. So that's awesome. Samantha says it's tough to find niche where you have different interests. What are some of the ways to narrow that down?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I would say what you need to do is figure out of your interest, which have enough real estate opportunities where you work and live to at least say provide maybe a third of your business. So equestrian real estate is one of my niches. Could I make it my full-time business? Yes, but it would have me driving all over the place. But maybe it's a third, and I have an abundance of equestrian properties where I am. So look, that's what I would do first is look at, is there enough in your area that's in the right price points that you want to serve, and then look at it that way. But having a niche is by far one of the most leveraged things. A niche and then listings on Lockbox at the highest price point you can get away with are the most leveraged thing you could possibly do for your career. That's how you get to 20-hour work week.
That's fantastic. We all want to get to 20-hour work weeks. All right. Great tips, guys. I mean, this is like game-changing stuff, guys, that really gets your brain turning a little bit on, especially if you ever got to that place where a lot of agents do, where you're just spinning your wheels, right? And you feel like you're always working. And so we just don't want that. It's not good for your life. And so, what can we do to reduce that? And Janie dropped tons and tons of options and tips, guys, to help you get to that. I love it. All right, guys. Anything else you guys got? If not, we'll sign off, and we will see you guys in a month.
So Samantha, we did do a training. I think we did a training on niches a few months ago. So just go to that training.
Yeah, it was like I think 2 or 3 months ago. It should be in there, guys. Love it. Love it. Thank you, guys. I appreciate your guys' time. Janie, thank you again for always dropping the great golden nuggets for us. If you guys need anything from us, feel free to reach out at any point in time. Also, go back to the channel and check it out and put comments on the channel. We'll try to go in and answer them. And so appreciate each of you guys, everyone. And we will see you guys in about 4 weeks.
Yep. Thanks, Jeremy. Thanks, everybody.
See you guys. Have a good one.
Bye.